Magic has a lot of powerful keywords. Storm, Dredge, and even Haste are all mechanics that will turn a random card into something busted. And Wizards has made some crazy keywords or mechanics for Commander specifically. One of the most powerful keywords of all time is partner. There are a few other mechanics that can give it a run for its money, but when partner first came out in 2016, it was wild. Sadly, the original article about it from Mark Rosewater is gone, but there is an old Designing Commander 2016 edition article which is worth a read. Link in the description. In the article, it talks about how radical the idea was of putting 2 cards in the command zone, which today there are many things that do that. But at the time, it was a first, and this was also the first time we really got proper 4-color legendary creatures. 2016 was a pretty wild set of commander decks for the format. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the history of the partner mechanic, how powerful it is, how Wizards changed it, and now, with many years of hindsight, partner's impact on the commander format. And if this video inspires you to build a partner deck, consider going to Cool Stuff Inc. If you use the code TTM, you'll get a discount, and it supports the channel. Thanks to Cool Stuff Inc. for sponsoring the video. So why didn't I like partner? A lot of it comes down to power. Tymna and Thrasios were initially the most egregious examples. I feel like Thrasios needs no introduction. In Casual Commander, this gives you the ability to spend any excess mana on ramp or card draw, ensuring your deck will never run out of gas. Plus, as soon as you have infinite mana, Thrasios lets you draw your whole deck and win the game. Tymna, on the other hand, is a massive card advantage engine, allowing you to draw up to 3 cards in a turn. And these two were perfect for each other. By curving out Thrasios into Tymna, you could often swing in at someone who just didn't have an early game blocker and draw cards immediately. These 2 and 3 lands was a reasonable opening. And in CEDH, this power was felt near instantly. Having access to an extra card by itself is strong. We've seen this in tons of other formats with the companion mechanic. Having an extra random creature is powerful regardless of how bad the creature is. And the value from this extra card is compounded by the fact that in CEDH, you will often mulligan very aggressively, searching for free interaction if you're up against a fast combo deck, or searching for your own combo pieces. So even if they were not powerful cards, having an extra thing to do would be welcome. But the real problem was, they are powerful cards. Thrasios by himself is one of the strongest Simic commanders ever printed. A very cheap commander you can play very early, and then follow up with 3 mana ramp, and then you can just hold up interaction for the rest of the game without ever compromising your own board, since you can just spend any mana you didn't spend on counterspells to ramp or draw cards. And while there are other great Simic commanders, Tymna is easily the strongest Orzhov commander ever printed. The raw card advantage is absurd. And then you would get access to both of them, giving you most of the colors in the game. And back in 2016, Red hadn't gotten its glow up yet. So Tymna and Thrasios gave you basically all of the good cards. And it wasn't just these two. Tymna Tana was also a popular pair in a deck called Blood Pod. It was just very clear, based on tournament results, that partners were the most powerful thing to do in EDH at the time. And as someone who enjoys CEDH, it was kind of annoying to see them push everything else out of the format. But what about Casual Commander? Well, in Casual EDH, I think these cards were also very powerful. Not just the best partner pairs, but most of them. Silas and Akiri made for a dangerous artifact deck with incredible recursion and a huge threat in the command zone. Kydel and Thrasios would pair up to make one of the most Simic value piles to ever Simic value pile. I am confident that these 2 dirtily goons were instrumental in the banning of Paradox Engine. And that's where we were for years. People kind of knew if you brought a Thrasios to the table, or a Tymna to the table, or most any partner pair, you were going to do something crazy and powerful. Kind of no matter who you partnered with. It was just having access to 4 colors was a huge deal. Wizards later experimented with a new version of Partner, called Partner With the release of Battle Bond. Partner With is a very different mechanic though, locking you into only one pair for the command zone. Also, a lot of people seem to forget that it lets a player search for the other partner, since Battle Bond was a multiplayer team-based format, so you can have your partner search for the other pair. If you run both in the 99, they can search for each other. Partner With was never as interesting as regular Partner, since there were just less brewing options. Plays a lot more like a made-for-commander legendary creature than anything else. But for the most part, Wizards played it safe with these, and none of them are that crazy. Ultimately, I don't think Partner With had a huge impact on the format, and a lot of the pairs are not super popular today. I do think it's very funny in formats like Legacy, where you can run 4 of each, because they can just keep searching each other up, although that's not really playable there either. Then 2020 rolls around, and Commander Legends is coming out. Tons of insane cards for Commander. Jeweled Lotus, Jeska's Will, Commander's Plate. I mean, some absolutely busted cards. And also, Partner makes a return. This time it was a bit different though. These partners were monocolored, which immediately brings down their power level a lot. And many of them were higher costed. Yeah, there were still some 2 and 3 and a 0 mana legend from the set, but a lot more in the 4, 5, 6 range. And many of these legends were just plain weird. Commanders like Tormod and Cyani support themes that really didn't have much support. When paired together, these new partners allowed for many new 2-color combinations. But also, in tandem with the old 2-color partners, you could then have access to tons of different 3-color commander options, which was great because a lot of these 3-color pairs didn't have that much support in terms of commanders. And that's basically it. Both Partner and Partner With came back a few times, but those were mostly just one-off cards or specific buddies like the Lord of the Rings, which leaves us with what? Now, before I mention how I feel about partners today, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious what your opinions on partners are. And if you consider subscribing, checking out the Patreon, it helps a lot. Thanks. Today, we still see partners as the most dominant force in CEDH. Chrom has gotten some more play because Red got better, but even some of the monocolored partners like Malcolm and Rograk are seeing play as well. Even with the years of power creep, good old Tymna plus Blue Commander is still strong. Partners technically are the most powerful thing you can do in EDH. It's the strongest type of deck. And as both a casual and CEDH player, I really hated this. Partners partially represent the worst of made for EDH design. Cards that are so strong they push other things out of the format, because why play an Orzhov deck when you could play Tymna, which is a better commander than your silly Orzhov card, and then add 2 colors to it? In terms of an objective power sense, doesn't make sense, so it pushes out a lot of other decks. But also the power that they have is not interesting. Even if we're not taking CEDH into account and you just want to make a higher power casual deck, a lot of these 4-color pairs just end up being soup decks, as in piles of the best cards in the colors without having a big overarching theme. Good stuff decks, which are generally not very interesting, and I feel like antithetical as a casual player to the purpose of EDH. You know, making silly wacky decks and playing them casually with your friends. And I think a lot of players somewhat agree. Partners are not actually that popular. Other than Sam and Frodo, which has Partner With, there are no partner commanders on EDH Rec's top 100. The most popular pair being Tymna Chrom at 167, which is pretty high, but that is bolstered by CEDH a lot, since this was the deck to beat for many years and still is. There are a few popular partner pairs, but outside of that, many of the combinations are just not used very often. Even some of the classic powerful combos like Thrasios Kaidel only have a few hundred decks on EDH Rec. I assume the general player base is not very excited by partners. And this is why, after all of the ranting and raving about how dumb and broken partners are, I think you should build a partner deck. After years of avoiding partners, I really started to brew around with them. I played Tormod Thrasios, I played Tymna Jeska, tried some goofy stuff with Crom and Brews, and now I'm running a Sidar Kondo Tormod list. So, what changed? After 2016, Commander really started ramping up, and more of the game's focus was placed on EDH. Even back in 2020, when Commander Legends came out, a lot of the partner pairs went under the radar because there was so many other Commander things coming out. So a lot of these just didn't see any play, leading to hundreds of new Commander combinations that almost never get built and really don't get explored. Like I said earlier, one of my favorite things about Commander is building weird, funny decks to play against my friends casually. That's kind of the point of EDH. And if you go to any 2 or 3 color combination on EDH Rec, you will find a bunch of partner pairs with almost no decks. And it's not like these are terrible options. Unlike scrolling down to the bottom of EDH Rec and finding a terrible legendary creature that does nothing, you'll find like an actual real hidden gem. Keskit plus Iktekik can be a great golem deck plus artifact sacrifice shenanigans. Or Sidar Kondo and Kedis, which could be a sweet aggro deck that has a power 2 or less matters theme. And for Sidar Kedis, there's only 20 decks on EDH Rec. That's basically nothing. This deck is so underdeveloped and so underrepresented. In this way, partners represent the best of made for EDH design. Cards that do weird things that work together in strange ways that you have to figure out for yourself. Sidar and Kedis work well together. I don't know how much of that was really intended, or if Kedis was just a uncommon filler for Commander Legends Limited. Either way, I think it's a fun combo. My current Tormod Sidar list is kinda like that. The deck is a cycling list, where I'm looping things in and out of the yard by cycling it and returning them to my hand. This triggers Tormod, which makes an army of dudes, and Sidar helps those zombies attack. Plus, the list can use Astral Slide to blink creatures and abuse ETB effects. Link to the list in the description, and don't judge it too harshly. The list is still new and in the testing phase. Every time I build a new Commander deck these days, I need to look at the partner pairs because there is always something that I missed. There are literally hundreds of partner pair combinations to consider, and it's hard to evaluate all of them. And every single time I see a new partner pair, I come up with some wacky idea for a deck that, even if I don't build, at least piques my interest. So I encourage you to go out there and build a Siani Francisco top of Library Matters pirate deck, because you might be the first one to do that. I guess I should touch on some of the other partner-esque things Wizards has done. Friends Forever is more like Partner With. It's fine, just less options than normal partner, so I don't really use it. Doctor's Companion is basically the same. Lastly, backgrounds. I enjoy backgrounds. I think having a non-legendary creature in the command zone is interesting. Kind of reminds me of what they did with the Planeswalker partners from Commander Legends. I think my only issue with backgrounds is it's like having a partner where one partner does literally nothing if the other one isn't in play, and that is a bit awkward since I personally don't like relying on my commander too heavily, but a lot of what I said about partners does apply to backgrounds. There's a lot of underrated background pairs that really could use some exploring. And that's all. I currently really like partners. I think it's a great way to build an underused, almost never before seen at your playgroup, LGS commander deck that is actually powerful. You don't have to build some old terrible card. They're actually good. They're modern cards. But I want to hear from you. Do you think my analysis of the partner mechanic is correct? Do you run any partner pairs? Let me know in the comments below. Do you have any partner pairs you think I should try? I'd love to hear that as well. Thank you so very much for watching, and special thanks to my patrons. You can see my tier 3 patrons here in the credits. And if you want to be in the credits, you should check out the Patreon. Or if you want any of the other perks, like the Discord server and deck reviews and more.